American movie great Cary Grant.
The war in Europe seemed about to consume the world. A time of bombings and sacrifice.
In 1941, when Bristol was suffering its greatest from air raids, hundreds of people were being killed. It was that precise moment that Cary decided to become an American citizen. Critics unkindly suggested it might be to avoid war service. The suggestion was very hurtful because he was doing a great deal.
During the war, he made a whole picture every year and gave all of his salary to British war charities back in his own country.
He never, ever felt that he wanted to really remove himself completely from his origins. But he loved America, and he loved being a U.S. citizen.
Visiting U.S. Army camps, Cary found a ready welcome for the actor who had done so much to cheer millions during the Depression. But these were different times, and the appetite for the zany and the screwball was gone. The 1941 Penny Serenade was a reflection of that change.
What a grip. For a girl, I mean. The first time I saw her, she looked so little and helpless. I didn't know babies were so little. And then when she took hold of my finger and held onto it, she just sort of walked into my heart, Judge, and she was there to stay. I didn't know I could feel like that. I'd always been, well, kind of careless and irresponsible. I wanted to be a big shot. Look, I'm not a big shot now. I'll do anything. I'll work for anybody. I'll beg, I'll borrow. Please, Judge, I'll sell anything I've got until I get going again. Well, she'll never go hungry. She'll never be without clothes, not as long as I've got two good hands to help me.
For his performance, Cary received his first Academy Award nomination.
He was searching for something, and I think that's what got him into the darker period, so to speak, of his life, with a picture such as Suspicion. But there wouldn't have been a suspicion with Cary Grant unless he could trust the man who was making the movie, Hitchcock.
There was something strange about Johnny Aysgarth. I knew it long before I married him. There was our first meeting on a hilltop.
Now, what did you think it'll do, kill you? Nothing less than murder can justify such a violent self-defense.
Even his reassurances seemed almost sinister.
I want nothing but to spend the rest of my life with you. And if you were to die first,
Hitchcock saw in that face something besides a handsome leading man. I think he saw in the face the potential to be menacing, to be equivocal, to be mysterious.
From that moment on, my life was filled with fear. Not of Johnny, I loved him too much to really be afraid. But the fear of not knowing, the agony of waiting, of wondering how it would happen, of waking in the middle of the night, shaking with terror, and finding myself praying that whatever it was, it would be done quickly and with mercy.
Originally, Alfred Hitchcock wanted Cary to play the part of a killer. But Cary feared enacting a murderer would damage his image. And so the ending of this film was changed.
Cary was a devout believer in keeping to and following the kind of image that you have built up.
In 1942, moviegoers were surprised to learn that Cary Grant, the former vaudevillian who had worked since he was a boy of 14, had married one of the world's richest women, Barbara Hutton.
Critics suggested he was after her money. He was known then as Cash and Carry, a phrase which was to wound him for years. What had not been realized, he had inserted in the marriage arrangements whatever happened, he was in no way to benefit from her fortune.
In 1944, Cary risked the greatest departure he would ever make from his image, to play a character whose world could have been that of Archie Leach. The film was None But the Lonely Heart.
Anything in the shop needs mending, Ma?
None that need your help, Bernie, sweets.
Cary was a man of infinite experimentation with his own character.
Mean to do my best by you, Ma, love. Happy couple, aren't we?
He was constantly striving, it seemed to me, to become better.
Though critics praised None But the Lonely Heart, and he received his second Academy Award nomination, Cary measured success by box office results, and there the film was a disappointment. In his private life, Cary would also suffer a sense of failure. In 1945, after 3 years of marriage, Barbara Hutton sued for divorce.
She had a lot of title friends, and they would come to their house for dinner, and Cary would sit through the dinner, but he didn't really, she said he didn't feel at ease with these title people, and that immediately after dinner, he'd go up to his room upstairs and turn on the radio. But it must have been a great turmoil inside him, because he manufactured himself into this great idol from a man who had a very difficult background.
The following year, in Hitchcock's Notorious, Cary played a disillusioned secret agent who falls deeply in love in spite of himself.
A man doesn't tell a woman what to do, she tells herself. You almost had me believing in that little hokey-pokey miracle of yours, that a woman like you could ever change her spots.
Oh, you're rotten.
That's why I didn't try to stop you. The answer had to come from you.
Oh, you never believed in me anyway, so what's the difference?
It wouldn't have been pretty if I believed in you. If I'd figured she'd been made over by love.
Oh, Dad.
Listen, you chalked up another boyfriend, that's all. No harm done.
I hate you.
There's no occasion to. You're doing good work.
With Ingrid Bergman, Cary created a romantic screen partnership that became legendary.
Oh, you love me. Why didn't you tell me before?
I know. But I couldn't see straight or think straight. I was a fat-headed guy full of pain. It tore me up not having you.
Biography's profile of Cary Grant will continue here on A&E.
I met Cary working on the RKO a lot after he made Notorious. He was very genial, easy to approach. He told me of his great ambition at the time was to own a freighter and just kind of drift around the world. And I said to him, Cary, why don't you do it? And he said, maybe someday I will, and then I'll live the life I want to.
On another kind of sea voyage, during one of his frequent trips to Europe, Cary met an aspiring actress, Betsy Drake.
Annabelle, do you mean you're going to deliberately set out to trap him?
Well, I know it's dreadful, but this is the kind of thing men force us to do.
Why have you been chasing after me for the past 2 weeks?
You? Really, Dr. Brown, I've heard of conceited in my time, but you absolutely take the cake.
And you'll know just how many candles go on it.
Betsy and Cary were married the following year, 1949. Cary's sense of what would be right for him at the box office had generally proved correct. But when some of his films were less than successful, Cary thought it might be time to retire. Betsy was opening new worlds to him in philosophy and in self-knowledge, and at last he was able to fulfill his ambition. Together they took tramp steamers to explore distant ports, and more than ever, the private Cary Grant seemed to resemble the image he had created on the screen. But if he wondered whether to enter permanent retirement, the question was answered by Alfred Hitchcock, The film was the 1955 To Catch a Thief.
Who brought you up here?
The police. And we would have caught you, too, if my dress hadn't gotten caught all over the steering wheel and gear shift.
But it was only 20 minutes ago I said goodbye.
As quickly as you could.
Didn't I thank you?
Politely.
Well, then.
Oh, John, you left in such a hurry you almost ran.
I had work to do up here.
Were you afraid to admit that you just can't do everything by yourself?
Cary liked his partners to be distinguished ladies. He chose always women who had a certain breeding. It was very important to him. I think he was very, very fond of Ingrid Bergman and Grace Kelly.
Cary Grant and this year's Academy Award winner, Grace Kelly. Two exciting personalities who were made for each other.
He liked his partners to be tall, slim, to wear jewels beautifully.
Look, John. Hold them. Diamonds.
Have you ever had a better offer in your whole life? One with everything.
With his leading ladies, he had this wonderful rapport, courtesy and tenderness, but with a great deal of humor, just like on the screen. It was really very pleasant. It was like going out with a gentleman.
I guess I'm not the lone wolf I thought I was, Francie.
Well, I just wanted to hear you say that. Thank you. Goodbye.
It was 1958. For over 25 years, Cary Grant had been everybody's favorite leading man.
You know, the man that every woman would like to love and that every man would like to be. And he played that part over and over again and played it beautifully.
In many ways, the best was yet to come. With the 1959 Hitchcock classic North by Northwest, Cary Grant's career seemed to have found its jewel.
I'm an advertising man, not a red herring. I've got a job, a secretary, a mother, 2 ex-wives, and several bartenders dependent upon me. And I don't intend to disappoint them all by getting myself slightly killed.
Cary Grant, running for his life, searching for a man who doesn't exist, and a secret nobody knows, and finding a blonde who has all the answers.
Hello there.
Tell me, why are you so good to me?
Shall I climb up and tell you why?
I was fascinated by the combination of Alfred Hitchcock and Cary Grant because although they were very different in the facade, they were very classy gentlemen. Very classy.
The moment I meet an attractive woman, I have to start pretending I've no desire to make love to her.
What makes you think you have to conceal it?
She might find the idea objectionable.
Then again, she might not.
Think how lucky I am to have been seated here.
Well, luck had nothing to do with it.
Fate?
I tipped the steward $5 to seat you here if you should come in.
I just found him to be a very giving actor. And you just always felt that he was with you every minute, not only for his close-ups, but for your close-ups. I had the feeling that he was very happy I was working with him. And when he talked with me, I felt at that moment I was the only woman in the whole wide world.
Biography's profile of Cary Grant will continue here on A&E.